What happens when you stop texting first, stop chasing, and simply disappear from his attention? Most women never realize what a man is actually thinking during that silence. It's not what social media tells you. And it can completely change the way you see relationships forever. In this powerful message, Steve Harvey reveals the psychological shifts that happen when you stop reaching out, why silence speaks louder than endless explanations, and how your absence can reveal someone's true intentions. Before you send that next message, watch until the very end, because one decision could change everything about your relationship. One of the first things a man notices when you stop reaching out is something that many people completely overlook. He notices the space you used to fill. You see, when you're always the one sending the first text, making the first call, checking in, asking how his day went, you're creating a routine. Human beings get comfortable with routines. They expect them. But the moment that routine disappears, something changes. He starts asking himself, what happened? That's not because you played a game. It's because your absence interrupted his expectations. Now listen carefully. There is a huge difference between creating distance out of self-respect and creating distance to manipulate someone. If you're trying to make somebody jealous or force them to chase you, that's a game. Games don't build healthy relationships. But when you stop reaching out because you're tired of carrying the entire relationship by yourself, that's not a game. That's a boundary. Boundaries reveal truth. Here's what I've learned about people. When someone genuinely values you, they notice your absence long before you ever have to explain it. They don't wait weeks to realize you're gone. They don't suddenly become too busy to remember you exist. If your presence mattered, your silence will matter too. That's just how real interest works. Too many people make excuses for inconsistent effort. They say, he's just busy. Everybody gets busy, but nobody is too busy for what they truly value. We make time for what's important. We protect what we don't want to lose. That's true in business, family, friendships, and it's certainly true in relationships. When you stop doing all the work, you finally give him the opportunity to show you what he was bringing to the table all along. If he reaches out, checks on you, asks if everything is okay, that tells you something. It doesn't automatically mean he's the right man. But it does show awareness and effort. If weeks go by and nothing changes, that's information too. Sometimes silence. Answers questions that words never could. Don't confuse potential with reality. Don't fall in love with what somebody could become while ignoring what they're showing you today. Watch their actions. Actions don't need translators. Actions don't need excuses. They tell the truth every single time. And let me tell you something else. When you stop chasing, you're not losing your chance at love. You're giving love a chance to prove itself. Real relationships don't survive because one person carries all the weight. They survive because two people choose each other every day. That's partnership. That's maturity. That's commitment. So instead of asking, why isn't he calling? Ask yourself, why am I the only one trying? That single question can save you months, even years of heartbreak. Because when you stop reaching out, you don't just discover what he notices. You discover what he truly values. Never chase what should willingly choose you. Have you ever noticed that people rarely appreciate something while it's always available? That's human nature. We get used to comfort. We get used to consistency. We get used to someone always being there. And in relationships, that can become dangerous if only one person is doing all the giving. If you're always the one sending the good morning text, always checking in, always making plans, always asking how he's feeling, you're creating a pattern where your effort becomes expected instead of appreciated. It doesn't necessarily make him a bad man. It simply means people often stop noticing what never seems to disappear. But the moment that steady source of attention is no longer there, awareness begins to grow. Now let me be clear about something. This isn't about disappearing to punish somebody. This isn't about ignoring calls. just to prove a point. Healthy relationships aren't built on mind games. They're built on honesty, respect, and mutual effort. But there comes a moment when you have to stop carrying the relationship on your back. If you're the only one keeping the conversation alive, you're not building a partnership. You're maintaining an imbalance. The moment you take a step back, something interesting happens. He has room to notice what you've been contributing all along. He notices the quiet. He notices that his phone isn't lighting up with your message. He notices that no one is asking about his day. And that's when reality starts speaking louder than routine. A man who genuinely cares won't simply shrug his shoulders and move on. He'll become curious. He'll wonder if you're okay. He'll reach out because your presence has become meaningful in his life. Not because you demanded attention, but because your absence reminded him of your value. But here's the part many people struggle to accept. Sometimes nothing happens. Sometimes the silence continues. And as painful as that may feel, it's also one of the greatest gifts life can give you. Why? Because clarity is always better than confusion. It's better to know where you truly stand than to spend months convincing yourself. That mixed signals mean hidden feelings. Too many people stay trapped because they keep explaining away someone else's lack of effort. They create stories in their mind. Maybe he's overwhelmed. Maybe he's afraid. Maybe next week will be different. Call. Meanwhile, weeks become months and months become years. Hope becomes an excuse to ignore reality. You deserve consistency, not uncertainty. You deserve someone who wants to hear from you, not someone who only remembers you when it's convenient. Love isn't supposed to feel like you're constantly auditioning for a role in someone's life. Real love shows up. Real love makes time. Real love puts in effort without being begged. When you stop chasing, you aren't closing the door on love. You're opening the door for truth to walk in. Because the right person doesn't need endless reminders that you matter. They already know. Distance, there is something incredibly attractive about a person who knows their worth. I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm not talking about acting like you're better than anybody else. I'm talking about quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need constant reassurance, constant attention, or constant validation to feel complete. That's the kind of confidence people respect. And that's the kind of confidence that changes relationships. See, too many people make the mistake of believing that love means proving yourself over and over again. They think if they just text a little more, care a little harder, give a little more, eventually the other person will wake up and realize what they have. But love isn't something you earn by exhausting yourself. If you're constantly trying to convince someone to appreciate you, you've already forgotten your own value. A high-value woman understands something that many people spend years learning. She knows that her peace is more valuable than temporary attention. She doesn't measure her worth by how fast someone replies to a message. She doesn't spend every hour wondering why the phone hasn't rung. She has dreams to chase, goals to accomplish, people to love, and a life to build. Her happiness doesn't depend on whether one person decides to text her back. Now, that doesn't mean she doesn't care. It doesn't mean she becomes cold or emotionally unavailable. It simply means she refuses to abandon herself while trying to hold on to someone else. There is a big difference between loving someone and losing yourself in the process. Think about this. Confidence is quiet. Insecurity is loud. When you're confident, you don't have to announce your value. You don't have to chase respect. You don't have to demand attention every single day. Your actions speak for you. The way you carry yourself speaks for you. The standards you refuse to lower speak for you. And let me tell you something else. People notice when someone has self-respect. They may not say it out loud, but they notice it. A person who isn't desperate for attention becomes unforgettable because they're focused on living a meaningful life instead of trying to be the center of someone else's world. The truth is, nobody respects someone who keeps accepting the bare minimum while pretending it's enough. Every time you ignore your own standards just to keep somebody around, you're teaching them how little effort they need to give. But when you protect your peace, when you refuse to chase. When you choose dignity over desperation, you're teaching people how you expect to be treated. And here's the beautiful part. Whether he comes back or not, you've already won. Why? Because you stopped making another person's choices determine your happiness. You've taken your power back. That's freedom. That's emotional maturity. That's strength. Never build your entire world around one person. Build a life so fulfilling that anyone who wants to be part of it has to meet you with the same level of commitment, respect, and consistency that you bring. The right relationship should add to your peace, not become the reason you lose it. At the end of the day, your greatest responsibility is making sure you never stop loving and respecting yourself. Once you understand that, you stop settling, you stop begging, you stop shrinking yourself just to fit into someone else's life. Because the strongest person in any relationship is the one who can walk away without walking away from themselves. Protect your peace, and your value will speak louder than your words. Now here's where everything becomes crystal clear. The moment you stop reaching out, you stop guessing and you start seeing. So many people spend months trying to figure out what someone is thinking, what they meant by text, or why they suddenly became distant. They analyze every word, every emoji, every excuse, hoping to find an answer that makes them feel better. But the truth is, you don't always need another conversation. Sometimes you just need to watch what happens when you stop doing all the work. See, effort has a funny way of exposing the truth. When you're constantly filling the silence, you never give the other person a chance to step up. You're answering questions before they can even be asked. You're solving problems they haven't even noticed. And because you're always there, it's impossible to know whether they're choosing you or simply getting used to you. The moment you step back, the relationship is tested without a single argument. No yelling, no blaming, no dramatic speeches, just silence. And silence has a way of revealing what words often hide. A man who truly values you doesn't need to be reminded that you exist. He notices. He wonders why he hasn't heard from you. He checks in because he wants to know how you're doing, not because he's afraid of losing control. His actions come from genuine care, not convenience. That's the difference. But if days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months and nothing changes, then you have to be honest with yourself. Don't keep rewriting the story to make someone else look better than their actions. Stop saying maybe he's just confused. Stop saying maybe he's waiting for me. People who genuinely want to be part of your life don't make you feel like a stranger. Here's something that can change your perspective forever. Rejection is painful, but false hope is even more dangerous. Rejection hurts once. False hope hurts every single day. It keeps you waiting. It keeps you making excuses. It keeps you investing in someone who has already stopped investing in you. Life is too short to spend it chasing people who are comfortable watching. You do all the running. Relationships are not supposed to feel like a one-person job. If you're carrying every conversation, every plan, every emotional burden, you're not in a partnership. You're carrying a weight that was never meant to be yours alone. And don't misunderstand this. You're not looking for perfection. Every relationship has busy seasons. Every couple faces challenges. But consistency always shines through. Someone who truly cares finds a way to show it. It may not be perfect every day, but the effort never completely disappears. That's why you have to stop listening only to promises. Promises sound good, intentions sound good, but actions tell the truth. Anybody can say, I care about you. Anybody can say, I've just been busy. But what do they actually do? Do they make time? Do they check on you? Do they make you feel valued? Those answers matter far more than beautiful words. The greatest gift your silence can give you isn't making someone miss you. It's giving you clarity. Clarity about where you stand. Clarity about who truly values your presence. Clarity about whether you're building a future together or simply holding on to a dream by yourself. And once you have that clarity, don't be afraid of it. Accept it, because the truth, even when it hurts, will always set you free faster than a comforting lie ever will. When you stop chasing answers the truth has room to reveal itself. At the end of the day, there comes a moment in every person's life when they have to make a choice. You can keep chasing someone who keeps giving you excuses, or you can choose yourself. And let me tell you something, choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's one of the healthiest decisions you'll ever make. Too many people stay in situations that have already shown them the truth. They keep hoping that next week will be different. Next month will be different. Next year will be different. They keep waiting for someone to become the person they've imagined in their mind instead of accepting the person standing right in front of them. Hope is beautiful when it's attached to effort. But hope without action becomes a prison. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you emotionally exhausted. It convinces you to ignore what your heart has been trying to tell you all along. Here's something you have to understand. Walking away doesn't always mean you stop loving someone. Sometimes it means you finally started loving yourself enough to stop accepting less than you deserve. Those are two very different things. People often think that letting go is a sign of weakness. They believe that if they leave, they somehow failed. But the truth is exactly the opposite. It takes far more courage to walk away from inconsistency than it does to stay and keep making excuses. Anybody can remain where they're comfortable. It takes real strength to leave what no longer serves your peace. And here's what many people don't realize. The person you're afraid to lose may not even be afraid of losing you. That's a painful thought, but it's also an important one. If someone only gives you attention when it's convenient, if they only call when they're lonely, if they only remember you when everyone else is busy, you're not being loved. You're being treated like an option. You were never created to compete for a place in someone's life. You were never meant to beg for respect, affection, or commitment. Real love doesn't make you constantly question your value. It doesn't leave you wondering where you stand every single day. Real love brings security, consistency, and peace. That doesn't mean relationships are perfect. Every couple faces disagreements. Every relationship has difficult seasons. But even in hard times, two people who truly care continue choosing each other. They communicate. They make an effort. They don't disappear every time things become inconvenient. So if you've been carrying a relationship by yourself, hear this clearly. Put the weight down. Stop believing. It's your job to convince someone to see your worth. Your value doesn't increase because someone finally notices it. Your value has been there. All along. The only thing that changes is whether someone is wise enough to recognize it. And never fear being alone more than you fear being unhappy. Loneliness can be temporary, but losing yourself while trying to hold on to the wrong person can steal years of your life. Those are years you'll never get back. The right person won't require you to shrink yourself just to fit into their world. They'll appreciate your presence, respect your boundaries, and match the effort you bring. They won't make you chase what they're already willing to give. So close this chapter with confidence. If you have to walk away with your head held high, not because you're angry, not because you're trying to prove a point, but because you finally realize that peace is worth more than uncertainty. Self-respect is worth more than temporary attention. And your future is too valuable to waste waiting for someone who refuses to meet you halfway. Remember this, every single day of your life, the strongest people aren't the ones who hold on forever. They're the ones who know exactly when it's time to let go. The moment you choose your self-worth over chasing someone else's attention is the moment your life truly begins. What if the biggest mistake you're making isn't saying too little, but saying too much? What if every unanswered text, every call you force, and every moment you chase is quietly lowering your value without you even realizing it? The truth is, when you stop reaching out, a man's reaction can reveal everything words never will. Will he step forward or disappear completely? The answer may shock you. Before you send another message,